Most respected delegates, dear scholars, and dear Dr. Samir Babu, my colleagues and friends. At the outset, let me express my profound gratitude and sincere appreciation to Dr. Samir Babu, the organizing secretary of the 1 week International Conclave, for his committed effort in bringing the expertise of high-profile professors and research practitioners all over the world. Even if COVID-19 is disastrous in many aspects, it has helped all of us in this manner to listen to the lectures on various dimensions of research from international experts, which otherwise would have been difficult due to many other reasons also. So we're lucky to get such an exposure, and I hope the 1 week conclave has been utilized fully for your academic excellence and enrichment. As far as the International Conclave of Advanced Research and Ranking Modalities is concerned, it aims to deal with the need and importance of research in the assessment and accreditation of institutions, leading to its upgradation. It's an emergent need for all of us as our university is on its track in the process of accreditation. So the various sessions might have helped to widen your thinking for an enhanced level of performance. Here I am assigned to talk on best practices and how the best practices are contributing to the institutions of excellence. And it is one of the main criteria for any institution, whether it is a college or a university. It is one of the main criteria. So how an institution showcase the best practices. And here my assignment is to explain or elaborate some of the best practices that can be possible in our research arena or in our curricular context or in an institutional context. So let me share my screen. So institutions of excellence and the best practices. So before going into details, let us see what is the status of the world ranked universities and the ranking, how the ranking has been done. So this is the status for the statistics by region. By continent wise, it is given. And from the top 20 universities, no university from Asia has been included in this category. And within top 200, only 3 Indian universities are included. And within the last category, between 501 and 1000 category, India has 21 universities are listed in this category. So that is the status of our universities in the context of world ranking. So where lies the problem, or what is the reason we are lagging behind? That is one of the crucial questions that we have to ask for every accreditation process. And regarding the world ranking criteria, we can have many points. How universities ranked, and it mainly depends on the following criteria, that is alumni and staff winning Nobel Prizes and Fields medals. So to what extent the outgoing student or the existing staff are winning the top prizes, that is one criteria. And how many of us, our university or our Indian universities are producing Nobel prizes, that is one question. So another is the fact that how many researchers are doing high quality researches and publishing it in high indexed journals. So the highly cited researchers is one criteria that is to be considered while ranking. Another is the papers published in Nature and Science. You have listened to the lecture given by Professor Achushankar sir, and he pointed out how difficult it was to publish his article in Nature and Science. So similar is the case for all the members of faculties of different universities in India. So the criteria are highly relevant for publication. So we must consider all these publications. Then only we may come along with the or at par with our other universities of this world. And papers index, and these criteria we have to look upon. So the world ranking criteria is different as we assume. That is one factor that we have to consider. And regarding the NAAC accreditation, in our own universities, the NAAC accreditation process are going on. So NAAC is the authority for accreditation and assessment of our universities, and NAAC has fixed 7 criteria. All are familiar with the 7 criteria, that is the curricular aspects, teaching learning, research consultancy, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance, leadership and management, and innovation and best practices. Here also one of the main crucial component is the innovation and the best practices. And why research is given importance? That is, we can find out the scores assigned for each criteria. So according to NAAC criteria, curricular aspects is given 150 marks, teaching learning evaluation is 200 marks, research innovations and extension it has been assigned 250 marks. So from this list itself, it is clear that to what extent research is emphasized in the accreditation process. That is why Samir sir has introduced such a concept in discussing how the research can contribute to the accreditation and ranking of a university and leading to excellence. So research is at most important. And as a result of this accreditation, an institution can have like it can know the strengths, weakness, opportunities, etc. Identification of internal areas and institutions to initiate innovative and modern methods of pedagogy. Because all the criteria, all the 7 criteria, within the criteria, an institution can excel by becoming by promoting best practices in each criteria, even if it is in curricular aspects or in other research innovation and extension or in other curricular innovations, etc. And new sense of direction and identity of for institutions can be gained through the accreditation process. So society look for reliable information for quality education offered, and employers also look for reliable information on the quality of education offered to the prospective recruits. So from an accredited institution or a high profile institution, we are getting quality education. That is we have to consider while discussing about all these aspects. So the quality of institution is revealed through the accreditation status, and there must be intra-institutional interactions while going for the quality discussions. So research, innovation, and any best practices, and getting a high score in an accreditation process is a determinant of quality in the higher education institutions. And we can have a look on what are the essential components for institutional excellence. So institutional excellence means I have made some of the observations regarding the infrastructure. Here the infrastructure is not only the physical facilities, but all the support system or all the academic structure that facilitates teaching, learning, and research process. So 6 dimensions are included in this components for institutional excellence. That include the physical, digital, innovative academic infrastructure, intellectual property infrastructure, emotional infrastructure, and industry network infrastructure. So we know what is meant by physical infrastructure. So the face of the university or face of an institution is revealed through the physical infrastructure, the building, the landscaping, all other facilities that provide comfort and safety for the stakeholders, for the students, for the teachers, for the faculty members, or any staff member, or the parents, or any guest speaker who come to the university. So the proper physical facilities or the comfort and the safety measures must be adopted by any institution. So that include the physical infrastructure of an university or an institution. So the buildings of the university should be constructed with the principle of open environment by using optimum models of water and energy conservation. So that is a green building concept. And use of green energy, harvested water, renewable and recycled resources to produce and provide clean air, water, food, light, and electricity in the campus. So all these facilities can have a good image on the accreditation process. So the concept of physical infrastructure lead to the green building concept, and almost all facilities that we may come across while discussing about the physical facilities that include these every facility for the discussion room, every facility for the classrooms, every facility for admission counseling, faculty chambers, meeting rooms, laboratories, and studios for recording, even sports facilities. And so the facilities can be classified into three. One is the minimum facilities, that is required facilities, that we can provide the minimum facilities in the form of physical infrastructure, and a moderate fair facilities, and luxurious facilities. So depending on the financial status of an institution or any university, we can provide any of these category of physical luxuries or physical fair, physically fair infrastructure or minimum infrastructure. So that depends or that determine the comfortability or the satisfaction of the stakeholders with respect to the physical infrastructure. Then comes the next is the digital infrastructure. We know the importance of digital infrastructure. That is, we are living in a digital world. We cannot even breathe without technology. So especially in this pandemic, we are surviving with the help of this digital infrastructure. So the digital infrastructure, including all these components I have listed, there must be sufficient internet facilities and usage by each and every person. So the usage is being recorded. To what extent the students as well as the faculty are using the internet facilities, and the website, university has its own updated website. So it must be updated regularly. And institutions also should have its own website. So the use and maintenance of website is one criteria, and creating WhatsApp group and blogs for regular communication, daily communication. For different groups, we can utilize this WhatsApp group and blogs. And Wi-Fi enabled campus is a primary requirement for any quality institution or striving for excellence. Online study material. Students can make use of additional reading and additional reference using online study material. So the faculty is interested to responsible to make online study material for the benefit of students. So that that material should be stored and preserved in our digital publication wing or in the digital library. So we should have a digital library so that we can access any information, any book from anywhere. So the digital library system and paperless office administration must be paperless, so that the time, effort, and even economic benefit can be gained. So the paperless office, online evaluation, paperless examination, website-based result announcement. So it can be very speedy and accessibility can be more. So digital data management studios for recording audio and video studios must be there, and online publication wing must be in the institution or the university, and there must be video documentation. So all these created videos must be documented properly and utilized properly whenever required. Then use of modern technologies like artificial intelligence, wherever we can use artificial intelligence, that is developing an emerging technology. So that must be used in our education also. So, and video conferencing facilities. So the digital infrastructure, to what extent we are able to provide and use and maintain the digital infrastructure, that determines, that is one criteria determinant of a quality institution. So it helps all stakeholders to simplify their job and to make their contribution effective. So all information must be related to higher education in the form of academic programs or admissions, examinations, evaluations, research programs, collaborations, placement, etc. must be provided digitally. So that is the use of digital infrastructure. And the third category, innovative academic infrastructure. So the universities are meant for providing innovative academic facilities for the stakeholders or the students. So to what extent we can provide the innovative academic infrastructure, that is important. So there must be some points we have to discuss regarding the innovative academic infrastructure. So how we can create the innovative academic infrastructure, that is one question. So institution or a university can make a SWOT analysis. What is our strength, the weakness, opportunities, and challenges, and developing ABCD analysis. Same case, the advantages, benefit, constraints, and disadvantages. So similar, regular these kinds of evaluation strategies must be used by the universities to identify where is limitation, how it can be overcome. That is a one step to develop this innovative academic infrastructure. So regarding the infrastructure, we should concentrate on the industry, or curriculum must be industry oriented. We have to provide linkage between the industry and the institution. So the curriculum itself must be having such opportunities so that there must be sufficient interaction or collaboration between the students and the industry, so that the earn while learn concept can be more utilized. So that kind of curriculum we can offer through our innovative academic infrastructure. Then the employability skills are important. Employability skills, even after completing our graduation, many students are lacking these kinds of skills. So to what extent the employability skills are generated or provided or trained through our curriculum, our educational scenario, that is important. And specialty professional courses must be designed regularly. And in addition to the regular courses, we have to offer courses which are demanding. That must be important. Then the experienced and committed faculty is required for all these. So that is also a question of quality. To what extent faculty is experienced and committed, that determines the quality of an institution. And session-wise teaching plan. So that is a responsibility of each faculty member. We have to prepare a teaching plan, academic plan, and we have to stick on the academic plan. And deviation from the academic plan must be met properly. So that kind of a session-wise teaching plan must be prepared and followed and regularly monitored. That is one important aspect. Then preparation of question bank, experiential learning pedagogy, co-curricular, extracurricular activities, and earn while learn facility and flexibility. Provision of optimum utilization of time to develop liberal arts skills, because the all-round development and the aesthetic and creative development of a learner is important. in any curriculum. So there must be provision for such opportunities to develop liberal arts skills and utilize research and innovative thinking skills, special training in event management and disaster management training. So compulsory environmental science education. So environmental consciousness is one important aspect that is to be discussed seriously in every courses and every compulsory education programs. So these innovative academic infrastructure can be utilized properly for the betterment of the students and the society. So creating and retaining a strong faculty base through faculty performance analysis is important. For innovative academic infrastructure should be maintained by the faculty. So the faculty performance analysis and the appropriate industry experts in curriculum design and implementation, developing leaders as role models through a commitment and multitasking analysis. And similar programs must be provided for developing this infrastructure so that we can grow further. And the fourth one, that is intellectual property infrastructure. Intellectual property infrastructure, we are familiar with intellectual property. So what is the patent? It is a copyright. So all these must be considered in the academic accreditation. So API is one important component. The academic performance indicators of faculty. So when our faculty is trying to develop their academic performance, so faculty compensation must be provided so that it can be a motivation for the faculty members to undertake such research and publications and developing patents, etc. So in that case, we can have the intellectual property of the university or the institution, and we can provide the concept of targeted research. So targeted research means university can identify some emerging areas in different subjects and supports the expert faculties in those areas to do research and publish papers as well as patents. So the area can be, the demanding areas can be selected, and the concerned resource faculties must be encouraged to do research and take patents. So that can be a credit for the university. And another concept is atomic research centers for each faculty. That means every faculty have their own strengths, strengthening area, their own interesting area for doing research. So this is followed by many universities as a best practice, atomic research centers. Here each faculty member identifies one or more area of research interest and develop an atomic research center in his or her coordinatorship. The center develops the objective proposed research center, objective of the proposed research center, methodology, expected outcome, and list of working papers, list of published papers, and every details, even the appointment of the research staff, etc., is done by the faculty, and that must be coordinated by the IQAC or the university team or internal collaborators, or even student members can be the members of atomic research centers for faculty. So that can be promoted so that better publication, better research outputs and better patents can be created. And publication and patents is one important aspects in the intellectual property infrastructure. And university incubation centers where we can provide opportunities for startups. So any new idea coming from the student side or from the faculty side that should be developed. So such centers must be there as a growing in or developing or quality, excelling in quality of an institution should have such incubation centers, and faculty ranking system, annual ranking system can be promoted so that can be a rewarding or a motivating factor for each faculty member to continue these kinds of activities. And another concept, emotional infrastructure. This is one of the most important factors that gain the satisfaction of a learner or a stakeholder. So emotional infrastructure means the supporting system or the satisfying system or the pleasant learning environment, how it should be developed, how it should be maintained. That is discussed as the emotional infrastructure. So there must be an acceptable leader. So a democratic leader must be there. So leader should have that mission, so that every program must be guided and promoted and controlled and monitored by that leadership quality. So the leader must be having the positive leadership quality and acceptable leadership quality. So that kind of leader can create better interpersonal relationship and bonding between the faculty, between the peer group, between faculty and students, and among the students, etc. So that is one requirement. And another is institutional values. Every institution has its own values. So what are the values of an institution? Whether there is promoting teamwork, whether there is respect among the faculty members, whether there is responsibility for each person, where there is any professional ethics, whether there is social service, the character, commitment, competency, and all the best for excellence and continuous improvement. So all these are the values of an institution, academic institution. So whether these institutional values are there and whether these values are promoting and whether these values are taken care of by the leader, that is important. And the trust among the stakeholders. So there must be trust. So university system should develop trust, self and mutual trust. So we must develop that capacity or that quality in our students based on their commitment and contribution to the system will make the university or the institution to a higher level. So that trust must be developed and keep along during the entire course of their career. So there must be proper communication. So communication, there are many sources of communication. So how openly we are communicating, that is important. So related to day-to-day activities, it must be communicated to everyone, not to some students or some leaders only. So it must be open. The course-based information related to the evaluation, and the teachers should be openly available to respective students. And through the open system model, university should try to provide the right information at the right time to the students. So this enables the students to make an optimum decision towards the growth of the university. So the communication is one important aspect. And alternative strategy and support. That is, you may promise many aspects during the time of admission or in the beginning of the course. And many of the promises we cannot achieve or satisfy. So when it is not, the promises are not met or satisfied, what is alternative strategy? For example, we are providing the hostel facilities, that is a promise. If the facilities are not able to provide, what is alternative strategy we are going to provide? So what is the support system that we are going to make for the students? So all these for every promise that we offer, if it is not met properly, we should have that alternative strategy. And goal setting by students is another important factor. So every student, by creating an awareness about the opportunities, they can set their own goals. So university system should motivate every student and identify the best among them and support to set a vision by themselves. That is important. So when there is a goal setting, they must be internally motivated. So that motivation may lead to a better involvement in their studies and involvement in their activities and interaction to the faculty members. So all these are contributing to the emotional infrastructure. Then legacy. So every institution has its own legacy, their traditions, their culture, and the legacy of the system by arranging exchange programs, festivals, and other entertainment programs. So how we are able to keep that legacy? So that is also one emotional factor that is we have to discuss. And the comfortability of the stakeholder, safety and security, respect to institution, how we are able to provide and gain respect to our institution. So it is on the hands of the head and the faculty members. So how we are able to gain that respect and openness in information and fulfilling promises, accountability. So all these must be considered as emotional structure while discussing about the quality concerns. And am I audible, Samir sir? And
yes, ma'am. Yes,
network infrastructure.
Okay.
So the sixth dimension is networking. So education nowadays, it's a collaborative program. Research is a collaborative program. So networking is an important aspect. And the collaboration can be horizontal, vertical, and diversified. Or it can be college-wise, or it can be industry-wise, or it can be society-wise. So in different ways, the collaboration can be made. And the alumni association, that is one important factor that is we have to discuss. So how the alumni is networked with our institution. So the how the alumni members are treated and how the alumni members are utilized for the development of our institution. So that kind of networking is to be happen in our institutions, in our university as well. And the industry collaborations, wherever industry linkage is required, we have to collaborate with the industry. And the academic institutions, research collaborations, consultancy collaborations, and all the collaborations that I have listed here, that can be the network infrastructure for the development of the university. So all these resources must be utilized properly so that our institution or our university can excel in our performance and output. So these are the infrastructure, and these can be the best practices that we can follow in our academic activities or in our research activities, and we can find out through research where we are lacking, where we have to improve, what are our strengths, weakness, and how the challenges can be met. So all these can be utilized for the development of our institution. So based on these, we can list out certain best practices. So best practices means as per NAAC criteria, any institution has to highlight 2 best practices. So the best practices should be showcased. So everything that we have to report must be documented well. That is one important aspect in the best practice or any criteria-wise session. And the curricular aspects, regarding the curricular aspects, what can be the best practices? And curricular aspects means the curricular design, curricular implementation, and the curriculum evaluation. So the 3 components must be having its own uniqueness, and it can be showcased if it have its own uniqueness. So that can be best practice. So the curricular aspects, curriculum design must be balanced. Balanced in the sense it should meet the needs of all categories of stakeholders. In the minority, in the majority, or any kinds of students, it must be having sufficient curricular opportunities. So the balancing, integrated, it must be integrated with the technology, it must be skill integrated, it must be integrated with the task. So whatever is required, there must be integration. So integrated design can be more having multiple effect on the learner. So the curriculum design, when we design the curriculum itself, these aspects we must consider. So that can be a best practice. Our curriculum design can be a best practice. And the differentiated curriculum. So considering the needs of differential learners, that curriculum offers what are the activities, what are the additional activities, what are the support systems we provide for the differentiated learners. So the curriculum having all these aspects and task oriented. What is the task? What are the tasks to be included? How the task is to be developed? How the task is to be evaluated? And how the task need the supports? And what are the support system required? So all these are the part of curriculum design. And when we design a curriculum, the implementation is also important. Induction program. So the design and the implementation, how it is implemented and how the design is intended is to be informed to the stakeholders. So that is an induction program. So many institutions highlight the induction program as a best practice. How they practice the induction program. There may be different phases, different sessions, different stakeholders are participating, and different dimensions are explaining, and different modes are presented. So in this way, any of these can be best practice. And the curriculum mapping, what are the goals, what are the practices, what are the outcomes, and what are the evaluation, all these are mapped in the form of a diagrammatic representation. So the mapping process can also be the best practices that is implemented by many in colleges and universities. So considering the curriculum, I have listed only few. You can add more. So what are the curricular innovations we can bring into our institution or our university so that it can be showcased? And teaching, learning, and evaluation, that is one important criteria that in the as per the NAAC accreditation criteria. And there are many innovative practices or best practices followed by many institutions, and some of the best practices identified and observed are listed here. One is mentoring. Mentoring is the best practices followed by many of the universities. That means there can be mentoring at different levels. During the appointment of a fresh teacher also, mentoring is possible. So that mentoring should be done by senior faculty members. So the mentoring can be of different levels. The faculty-wise mentoring, academic-wise mentoring, faculty-student mentoring. So mentor-mentee relationship that is to be maintained. So mentoring is an assistance. So what kind of process we are undertaking through the mentoring process, that is important. So we can design our own mentoring strategy, and different types of mentoring can be practices, different levels we can practice. And in that way, we can utilize the resources properly, the teaching, learning, and evaluation. So for the three concepts, we can use mentoring. So the learning process, we can use a peer-to-peer mentoring process, and teacher to student mentoring process, and evaluation also we can use inter-institutional mentoring process. So mentoring can be utilized whether as a best practices or done as a best practices, and it has to be documented. And professional learning communities is one activity or one program or one strategy that we can implement in our own institution. So we can create a professional learning community where we can discuss what are the problems, how it can be rectified. So it is a team building process also. So we can create such professional learning communities in any institution or any university, so that it can be a discussion forum, and participatory approaches should be promoted in the learning process. Participation with respect to there can be mentoring process can be used, and we can participatory approaches can be used between the students and the field and the industry. So wherever they are undertaking the participatory activity, that approach can be highlighted. So the participatory learning process is promoted, and the interactive learning activities, interactive discussions, interactive discourses. So all these are contributing to the effective teaching, learning, and evaluation process. And multimodal approach in the teaching learning process is utilized so that we can satisfy all types of learners. They may be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and all the types of learners should be satisfied in our teaching learning process. And there must be comprehensive evaluation as well as coverage of content, as well as the teaching learning process must be comprehensive. It must be comprehensive with respect to the whatever the factors assigned in the central portion. And there must be a faculty report for every week or every month or annual report that should highlight all these aspects, what kind of activities we are utilizing in our teaching, learning, and evaluation process. So a faculty report that should be maintained by the IQAC of the institution. That is a recommended strategy. So we should prepare a faculty report and utilize for the betterment of the institution, and a fair discussion can be promoted among the faculty so that it can be utilized for the development of the institution as a whole. And the feedback is another process that we are always utilizing feedback from many sources. Student feedback, student evaluation is the best evaluation for a faculty member or a teacher. So the feedback from students, feedback from other stakeholders, feedback from PTA, feedback from alumni, or any feedback has to be collected and incorporated and discussed in our teaching, learning, evaluation, improvement process. So the ultimate aim must be, there must be biological development or biological interaction, biological participation, biological comprehensiveness, cognitive comprehensiveness, social and emotional. So all the dimensions of a person must be met properly so that the teaching, learning, and evaluation is very much effective and leading to the growth of an institution as well as the individual. So the academic benefit can be gained through these kinds of best practices. And teaching consultancy, research consultancy, and extension. That is a most important component as higher education is concerned, because university accreditation, the high grade, high mark is assigned for this dimension, research, consultancy, and extension. So we have to promote modern trends in research. We have to undertake interdisciplinary, collaborative, device. There must be a review board so that that board can find areas, discuss areas, and review papers. And that is a team effort to publish our papers in highly indexed journals. So the review board has to be met properly, weekly, monthly, or as and when required, and the proper review process must be undertaken, and all the criteria must be discussed, shared, and achieved by the faculty members. So all these can be promoted as an institutional wise or a university wise. And consultancy, we can collaborate with the other industry wise or other agencies so that it can be used for fund generation as well. And extension activities are most promoted, which must be beneficial to schools and community. And many institutions promote the adoption of a village and do all the economic upliftment, labor upliftment, and health-wise, education-wise. So many activities are developed or implemented in the village by adopting a village as a whole, and the wholesome development of the village is emphasized. So such kind of best practices are promoted, can be promoted in our institutions also. And the student support is another area that need to be addressed. So it is already, some of main points have already been discussed in the emotional infrastructure dimension. So there must be mentoring, student welfare committee, earn by learn welfare committee for students, placement cell, grievance cell, student quality assurance cell, counseling unit, skill development activities, scholarships for financially weak students, honors and recognitions, so that it can be a motivating force for them, and healthcare measures. So whatever support they need, so we must conduct a need analysis so that whatever support the students need, that must be identified and provide the support system appropriately. So whatever support system provides, that must be enriching the learner emotionally, that is required for the growth of an institution. Then comes governance and leadership. So leadership is important. as the leaders of the institution, we can say that like that. So how we manage the resources, that is important. How we set the goal, that is also important. So governance and leadership, every institution has a vision, and that vision is not a permanent one. It must be reviewed and modified as and when required. So vision, mission, strategies must be modified periodically. So what is demanded? So according to that demands, we must modify the vision, mission, and strategies, whether it is administrative strategies or whether it is academic strategies or whether it is professional growth strategies, that must be reviewed and evaluated and modified appropriately periodically. So that is a requirement for a better governance and leadership. And education and training to staff, that is also important, because technology is booming. Many of our administrative staff are not competent enough to utilize these resources properly. So they must be educated, they must be given training to utilize all these resources properly. So that is a requirement. Even teachers has to be educated. Even teachers has to be educated in higher learning domains. So in that way, the education and training of the staff, whether it is administrative staff or the academic staff, this program is must be periodically done with the proper planning. So planning is one important aspect in the proper governance and leadership. How we plan out the resources, how we plan the time, how we utilize the resources, how we disperse the resources properly, that is also important aspect. And competency enhancement programs, that is part of every academic institution. Competency from the part of on the part of students, and competency on the part of every faculty or every student, every administrative staff, that programs can be utilized. Among the faculty also, the competencies are different. So we can share that skills also. That skills can be utilized for the capacity enhancement or the competency enhancement of other faculty members or the other staff. So that kind of dissemination of resources is to be properly met as a good governor or a leader. So communication is important. Then academic audit is one important aspect that we have to consider while discussing about the quality in the institution excellence. Academic audit, we have to audit our academic performance regularly and find out the pitfalls and how we are rectifying all this, and how we can have a better academic performance from our students. So that audit must be made compulsorily in every institution. And there must be a data management cell. So every time the data, once data is given, that must be kept, that must be managed properly. So data management cell must be created in every institution, especially in the technology boom era. So data management and democratic administration, that is one important aspect that we have to look upon, because whatever resources available, whatever time available, that must be distributed properly in a justifiable manner. That is keeping the democratic administrative procedure. And other than these, some of the best practices that I have collected from many institutions, these are some of the best practices that we can think of. That is one best practice, rewarding staff. That is a motivating factor. So our university is also rewarded the achievements of our events. Dr. Samir Babu has been awarded many awards during currently. So that is one motivating element for every staff. So the rewarding can be a best practice, and how it is done, what is the objective, how it is done, and how it is documented, that is important. So every best practice we have to highlight according to the different criteria specified by the accrediting agencies. So rewarding staff, then industry advisory board. that is suggested by many agencies, because we may link many of our curriculum or collaboration with the industry. So there may be an industry advisory board to design the curriculum, implementing the curriculum, evaluating the curriculum, doing collaborative researches, etc. We can create an industry advisory board. There also we have to highlight what is the role, function, and activities of the industry advisory board, and how it is becoming unique as part of our institution, as unique activity of our institution. So that is another best practice. Then faculty e-course book, that is being developed, because e-content development and e-course materials and online study materials are developed, and each faculty has to develop e-course book and maintain properly. That can be a best practice. And extension activities are of course done by many colleges as best practices. For example, adoption of a village and undertaking educational and economic activities for the betterment of life of that village. That is an extension activity of many of the institutions. Then energy conservation, water harvesting, that is one important aspect that many institutions have highlighted. That is a green energy concept I have explained, how we can preserve our conventional energy sources and how we can utilize the energy resources properly, and how harvesting rainwater, etc., water harvesting. And agriculture is also related to this environmental consciousness. So we have to develop that in environmental consciousness to the students. So that can be a compulsory activity for every institution to preserve and conserve our energy of different forms. So water harvesting, mentoring already discussed. Then e-waste management, that is one institution, one engineering institution has designed a portfolio for e-waste management, how it is to be managed, how it is to be categorized, how it is to be utilized. So e-waste management and internal quality audit is done by many institutions. So the proper auditing, including all aspects. I already mentioned the academic audit only. This internal quality audit means auditing all the internal quality activities of the institution, including all the infrastructure that I have mentioned earlier. So co-teaching with industry personnel, rural agricultural work experience and research. Many science institutes have introduced this concept, rural agricultural work experience and collaborative research. So selecting a rural village and doing some agricultural activity, and that promotes the work experience of the students, and undertaking research for the betterment of the research activity in collaboration with the agricultural university, that is also promoted in many institutions. And skill-oriented certificate courses that are common in many of the institutions, and competence development center is also used properly. Then thought lab, that is another innovative practice mentioned in one of the institutions, that is for promoting values, for promoting yoga, meditation, and such a spiritual dimension of a person. Thought lab form is created, and regular activities are being done in a periodic manner, so that students are having better values, better relationship, better communicative skill, all the skills integrated with the values. So that kind of thought labs, there we can design different programs, we can implement it, and we can record it, we can monitor it, we can control it. So all the control is rests in the capacity of the institution. So that kind of thought lab for promoting values. And the strict adherence to an academic schedule is one important aspect. So while adherence to academic schedule, an institution can perform better. So when there is a deviation, there occurs many problems and challenges. So try to and adhere on academic schedule. That is important in the functioning of an academic institution. So for this, what is to be done? How to improve? So to summarize or to conclude, I may explain certain factors. So academic schedule must be followed. We must have individual responsibility. Every person should have responsibility, even from the category 4 staff to the top leader. So every person, if everyone is doing his role and duties, responsibility, there is no question of quality deterioration. So that is important, individual responsibility. Then periodic monitoring at institutional level. So every activity, every academic program must be monitored properly. And there must be a monitoring cell in every institution. And resource management, already discussed. Then environmental consciousness, that is also important. Then data management, faculty research and review. Team effort is the success of any institution. So a team effort is required. So team building is important. And the budgeting and fund utilization. We have many allowed fund. So we are not utilizing properly. Many of the institutions are not utilizing properly and the funds are being lapsed. So the budgeting and fund utilization is one important aspect so that we can develop economically. We can utilize the proper resources and rewards and recognitions for everyone. Not only teachers, not only students, even for administrative staff, you have to provide the rewards and recognitions. And whenever a reward is gained, you have to appreciate them. And that must be in a public manner. So that kind of motivation is strengthening the relationship in an institution. So that is important. Then competency building is required. Then judicious distribution of power, that is also one important aspect. How judiciously we assign roles to each and every person. So, so the impartial behavior of a leader is important. Then depoliticization of academia, that is one of the most important issue that we are facing day-to-day life. Politicization or over politicization of academia, that must be removed. So academia is another academic body. So the freedom must be, sufficient freedom must be given to the academia. So that is one important issue. And eminent leadership, staff recreation must be there, grievance redressal and collaboration. Collaboration can be among the staff, between the staff, among the industry, between the institution and the, even if an educational institution, it can be with the society, it can be with the community, it can be with the industry. So let me conclude. These are some of my observations. In addition to the some noted best practices of other universities. Thank you.